Hello and welcome everyone to Style Esports Rema Division. I believe this is the quarterfinal between the number 1 seed Chaotic Solar and the number 2 seed Alberta Beef. This could end up being the final match for the season, but right now it's just the quarterfinal. I am True to Bagel. I am your play-by-play caster for this evening, and joined alongside me is Trombone, who I believe was here yesterday. Trombone, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty well. I was here yesterday. It was a pretty exciting matchup. We'll have to see if this will be just as exciting. We got some very high-level play, so it ought to be. Speaking of which, we got some pretty standard bans right now. I've seen a decent amount of Udyr in my plays, and Sejuani's been a pretty big staple as well for a lot of teams. So seeing those bans is no surprise.
Yeah, absolutely. You see Xayah being taken off as well by Chaotic Solar. I think it's a reasonable ban itself. Xayah is... It's just annoying to play into, especially as it scales into the late game. Alberta Beef with the J4 as the final ban as well. I think a lot of people have been talking about how strong J4 is. So
He's
very
such an
justified
enabler.
bans.
Yeah, he's such an enabler. Can really set up your teams. Just yesterday, there was a J4 Misfortune combo that ended up winning game 2 and then did a lot of pressure into game 3 as well. And, the other thing with like Xayah is, maybe she's got a weak laning phase, but she scales pretty well. And if you're trying to dive and get into people like an Olaf is doing, then it can be quite difficult to do just because of how much she can kite and CC you down, self-peel.
Yeah, I also like Chaotic Solar locking in the Olaf here because there's no J4, right? Which is one of the things that can really stop an Olaf from charging in because you can just Cataclysm and then EQ out. So it's like... I think some would say just B1ing Olaf is a bold choice because it kind of indicates like a very straightforward strategy, but I think Chaotic Solar put a decent bit of thought into that. Alberta Beef, they respond with Shen. Generally strong top laner, doesn't really show off or, you don't lose anything by locking it in. It's flexible, to say the very least.
Yeah, especially because you can technically take him mid as well, or you can even go and do support Shen. Olaf also has that similar flexibility where he can go like top or jungle. So that's pretty telling. Shen plus Graves, though, does kind of hint at maybe a Shen top, with Graves being a good jungle clear here. So we'll have to see what Chaotic Solar is going to give as a response. No AD carries have really been picked right now, even though Graves is technically a marksman. We'll have to see how they're going to try and respond to what they have. They need to create some sort of advantage with this priority pick.
Yeah, I mean, you already locked in Olaf, I'd assume. Whoa.
Oh,
is that an auto lock? Or is that saying we're running Olaf top?
I think that's saying we're running Olaf top. I don't see anything in chat saying it was an auto pick, redo the draft or something. So I think that's Bel'Veth. Bel'Veth jungle, unless they want to get really spicy and do Bel'Veth top, but Shen's going to kind of deny some of those auto attacks. So I am very doubtful about that. And then a Seraphine to go with it. Seraphine's been a pretty good enchanter. She's got the shields, the heals, some disengage with her Encore, big range. And of course, can poke down anyone that tries to carry, because she's also kind of an artillery mage. She's just got a pretty well-rounded kit that does a lot.
Yeah, and still can be flexed between mid and support. So Chaotic Solar still playing it a little bit loose, trying to give themselves options as far as their comp is concerned. Alberta Beef, not quite the same though. They obviously, I think we just saw them lock in each role correspondingly, right? Top, jungle, mid, right there. Shen, Graves, Victor.
Oh, no Soraka. So they might be thinking Seraphine has as an APC potentially. It's not something I see as often.
I'd be surprised seeing a Seraphine mid at this point.
Yeah.
But, that being said, though, right, Seraphine also works well with what Chaotic Solar has drafted too, right? Because you have Bel'Veth, you have Olaf, 2 champions that are more than content to run straight in, draw aggro, and that's exactly what Seraphine wants with that Encore, so you can get the pass-through on your teammates into the enemy team. So I do like what Chaotic Solar is doing.
Just having a guaranteed lineup just so you can get that additional distance out of it is super nice.
But yeah, a lot of support focus in the bans so far.
Support, pretty major role, underrated in my opinion in the League community. But looks like we're going with an Ari who has been a support occasionally in some spicy setups, but Ari pretty decent into Victor, able to maneuver around Major Laser and just kind of enchant him out.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think it also just means that, as you were saying, the Victor is one thing, but also consider Shen Graves. Like, you don't really want to play against an Ari in that regard. Chaotic Solar, though, they round out their bans a bit more of a straightforward way, continuing to pinch that support pool. I like the fact that they banned the Nautilus as well. You see, with the Rakan, the Nautilus, they're trying to deny the ability for Alberta Beef to look for an engage.
For an engage and some mobility too, right? If you think about a Dreadline or a Depth Charge, if you do that into an Olaf, sure, it's not going to knock up the Olaf, but he could knock up the whole rest of his team while he's charging in, or Belvath with her maneuverability. It changes where it goes, which is not where you want to be. So makes a lot of sense. We see the Zeri. Are we going to get the Yumi to go with it? It's not banned.
I feel like Zeri's also a bit of a response to the Belvath and Olaf, right? Because you pop the ultimate, and as long as you can keep stacking up your movement speed, keep maintaining distance, it's really hard for Belvath and Olaf to close. Rel being the lock for Chaotic Solar.
An interesting pick with her permanent shield when she dismounts. That's something that Zeri can fairly consistently steal here, but hold the phone, Cassante. This means, wow. This might be a Rel Seraphine bot lane.
Yeah.
Cassante to match the Shen. So we're talking Olaf or Belvath mid?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's right, and but like the other thing that's really interesting to me here with Chaotic Solar locking in Rel is look at how many shields are on the side of Alberta Beef, especially with this Lulu lock-in, but also, you know, Rel Q strips shields off. If last time I checked, I believe it still does. And that can completely eliminate a Shen shield. So the potential for extremely high value from that single ability for Chaotic Solar. Alberta Beef, I feel like they are putting a lot into wanting to keep Zeri alive this game.
Yeah, because it feels like they want to cast Stand United on her to keep that massive shield and then Wild Growth for the extra slow, mobility, damage, etc. The big stat boost seems pretty important. They can do the same with Graves, right? Because he can also dash around and use his grit to leverage out some of that HP and really grind out a fight. But it does really feel like they want Zeri to just go off. And she can get caught up. Cassante can kind of deal with her. Rel if she sticks on, or a nice Encore can also really mess her up.
Yeah. And I think Zeri is someone who's as high mobility as Zeri is, especially with the ultimate. It's that classic case of like, well, how do you counter mobility? You have to have like some form of targeted CC. And strictly speaking, Rel and Cassante both have that. Now, granted, they have to get right on top of you to use that hard CC, but it is there. And the fact that it exists at all is scary for Alberta Beef, because if that Zeri gets caught up, right? Like, Olaf, Belvath, like, those two alone will just absolutely tear a Zeri to pieces.
Yeah, it's one of those champions where Olaf's super strong until he falls off, and when he sticks on you, he hurts. Like, you can't get him off, and
yeah, especially because the ultimate lasts as long as he's auto-attacking something. So, you know, the moment he's on you, you either have to use a really significant mobility spell and put a lot of space between the two of you, or, you know, miraculously, the Olaf has to die.
Yeah. And the Axel makes it even more difficult as well. I've had a number of games where I've done my sets and I play like a Misfortune or something. They pick an Olaf and it's so goddamn scary. Because if you can't get away, you're screwed. You're dead. You're an AD carry. You don't have HP. You don't have armor. Especially with the cleave. You just chew through it.
Yeah, like granted, this is not a comp that's built around Olaf, right? Like everyone's had that nightmare scenario where it feels like it's Olaf plus 4 supports.
Yeah.
And the guy just tears through the entire enemy team because he has that many buffs. That's not what Chaotic Solar have drafted here.
No.
But it's still scary, right? Because
he will get you an early game, like pretty guaranteed. Because we got to remember, this is high level play, so they know how to play Olaf. They're gonna be able to utilize the champion very well, as well as the macro that comes with it. And then for late game scale, if you have Seraphine, who can help you into the mid game, and then Belvath, who stacks pretty well. Especially we can get some good kills, get some Rift Heralds for Chaotic Soul to really push that early lead. If we can get a bunch of those plates into Olaf, that'll keep the strong point there for a lot longer.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think what Chaotic Solar have done is they've drafted a very consistent power gradient as far as where they can look for carries and what they can do for scaling. I think one thing that Chaotic Solar do need to be aware of, though, is that Belvath is not the champion that I would say like can define the early game as a jungle.
No.
You need to have a bit of time to at least hit you're not only useful at 6, mind you, but you are definitely also not a Graves. A Graves is a champion that can hard bully people, completely set the tone of the jungle very early on, and I think that's what Chaotic Solar need to do, need to be aware of, because everywhere else, as we've discussed, they seem very consistent with the power that they have drafted. But Alberta Beef, they also have a pretty reasonable power gradient, right? You have Graves, you have Victor, and Zeri into the late game, especially with Lulu Shen. So both of these teams, and I honestly, Trombone, I think this is what you should expect from these teams.
Yeah, we'll have to see what kind of build they're going to go with Graves, if they're going to go with a more lethality just to try and pop up some of these high priority targets before they can heal, or if he's going to go with a different build with a more bruisery, healthy version.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously, we've talked about, I think we've talked a lot about Chaotic Solar's comp. Alberta Beefs is, if we're being fair, it's a bit less entertaining. It's a lot more standard. From what people would expect out of League of Legends, out of comp. That being said, I think it's still a very, very solid composition, but I also hate to put you on the spot, Trombone, because this is the part where I ask, who do you think is going to win?
Yeah, it's a difficult decision here. A lot of games I've noticed haven't gotten really past the 34-minute mark, so I think that's going to help Chaotic Solar here, because Alberta Beef has a little bit more value into the late game, and should Chaotic Solar get a good opening, they're going to be able to execute it very cleanly with the composition that they do have.
Yeah, I think that's a very fair assessment. Chaotic Solar looking a bit more towards that early mid-game. Alberta Beef, they can certainly become monsters in the late. That being said, we are about to get into game number 1 in just a couple of seconds after delay, so don't go anywhere, folks. We'll be right back.
Go.
All right, hello and welcome everyone to game number 1 in the Shurima division here in Style Esports of our quarterfinal between number 1 seed Chaotic Solar, number 2 seed Alberta Beef, and as I am True to Bagel, joined alongside me is Trombone, and talking about the compositions that both of these teams have put together. Chaotic Solar, bit less standard, but also still very interesting, and there's a lot of thought behind it. Alberta Beef, a little bit more standard. Although, there are a few interesting things. If you take a look over at Alberta Beef, right, Trombone, we were talking about the summoner setup.
Yeah, it's such a rare occasion to where one team has the same number of flash and ghosts. It's so rare. You'll have to see. We'll have to see how much it pays off with how everyone's been going here. The name of the game, though, it looks like short versus long trades. Top conqueror for long trades. Grasp for the top. Belvath obviously wanting long fights with. Hold the phone.
Both teams actually find each other at level 1. It looks like Chaotic Solar wanted to disrupt and start those. Whoa. A little bit of action. I don't think the Chaotic Solar want this, though. J-Bear forced to ghost away. As Deza is ghosting aggressively, does get slowed by that undertow. And it looks like Chaotic Solar have almost fully disengaged this, although Deza on the Graves continuing to go forward, continuing to look for it. Wants to kill Wen. Camera pans away, and it looks like the Belveth is going to be able to survive. No summoners lost on the Belveth, but completely concedes that early jungle. So,
yeah.
I'm going to butcher this, but Estakaza, Deza, very happy with that situation.
Yeah, very happy. They get to vertical jungle here, potentially, just because they're invading here, and with how low their enemy jungler is, they're at half health. And it's not like they have fleet footwork to help keep them healthy here, which is going to be another problem for them to deal with.
Yeah, and as you said, going to be the vertical jungle move for Wen. Top lane, J-Bear getting a little bit low, but he's fine. He's Olaf. You actually kind of want to be a little bit low to utilize your passive as well as possible. Don't want to walk up against Shen right now, though. Not quite yet.
No. The max health damage from that Q really adds up.
Yeah, Shen is definitely one of those champions where it's like, wait, he's a tank. Why is he killing me? And then all of a sudden you're at 20% HP and you don't really know how you got there. But otherwise, things seem pretty muted. I am going to say, Crow, right over there on the Cassante, does have Grasp, so wants to land as many procs as possible, as we just saw.
Yep.
You get the pullback, get the easy auto in Tears of Winter. Has to stay safe.
It's been a while since I've seen mid Cassante, but it's actually stronger than a lot of people give it value. You can even potentially proxy with him and get some of these early plays. Of course, it didn't work out quite as well at level 1, but it's still there.
Whoa!
Just look at that trade, right?
Yeah.
It's not going to work well with Deza there.
Though, is going to get stunned up here. Might have to flash defensively. Although he's looking for the kill. Gets the flash out of Tears of Winter. Flashes forward. Looks for the Q. Doesn't quite get it. And now Crow's going to die. First blood. Over to Alberta Beef.
Just a little too eager there trying to go in. If it would have landed, they would have been able to trade blow for blow, getting first blood for Chaotic Solar. But live by the greed, die by the greed.
Wen able to snatch it up easily.
This
Boys also gets a little bit, whoa.
It's super awkward here, not only because Wen is low on HP, but the wave just crashed, so there's not a whole lot for 9Crow to do here. So this teleport isn't super favorable, because the counter teleport's going to be happening here, so it's not going to get any plates either.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not an ideal situation to be certain. But now in mid lane, neither mid laner has any summoners available. So both of them have to be careful about how they shove the wave out.
And,
but that being said, it's really just the first blood gold. That's the difference between these two teams. Everything else seems to be at parity.
It's just 400 gold versus 300. There's a couple of other things to mention, right? We're up 500 gold on Alberta, the number 2 team here.
Oh, another gank here in the mid lane. Doesn't seem like it's quite working out, but there's the knock up. And oh, they're committed for the dive. Wenwen getting incredibly low, able to stay alive, though. Big time Boyo trying to escape. Doesn't look like it. The rel will go down. They want to donate it over to the victor. Tears of Winter able to get it with that Death Ray. And yeah, Chaotic Solar, they're biting off a little more than they can chew with their moves here.
Yeah, recognizing the vulnerability there, trying to go in, but just being a little overzealous. Rail has very good roams, but oh no.
Oh no, Youngjae is in tons of trouble right now. This Seraphine should be able to speed herself out of this situation. But honestly, it kind of looks like Chaotic Solar, they're playing a bit over-aggressive. They're getting punished pretty hard for their moves right now. And now, you know, that slight gold deficit that they were at is getting close to 2K.
Well, in the draft scene, you talked about how Bel'Veth, you know, they're useful pre-6, but they're not level 6 yet. And this is exactly what we're seeing. Dez has been able to create a lot of action here, and it's stemmed from this jungle invade and just creating pressure that way. With the CS deficit, it can be quite hard sometimes, because if your camps aren't there, what are you going to do? Steal XP from your laners?
Yeah, and I think that's a very fair point. Deza has just been at the right place at the right time to punish the Bel'Veth several times over. But I also feel like, to a certain degree, Chaotic Solar, they are the architects of their own demise to some degree in this early game. Just because the early invade, that was their choice. They wanted to steal Raptors early. They chose to go for this dive under the mid lane tier 1 turret. Like, do they need to be doing those things? Not necessarily. At least not necessarily in mid lane. I would have hoped to see a bit more action in top lane, because we were talking about how we want that Olaf to get ahead. They need, you know, strong early game pressure. It's not as though K'Sante can't do that.
And the other thing is there's phase rush in the shortest lane there for what you're trying to gank. So there's a potential to get out there, especially with the gravity field. Of course, bot lane's pretty slippery for them to go to. So I think top lane is pretty natural for them to want to go there.
Yeah. I think the one problem to be said, though, is that Jaybear has kind of been semi-aggressive in, you know, how he's been playing this lane, right?
Yeah.
Constantly going forward, throwing those undertows out. Whoa, AFK Shadow. Got that taunt forced out. Olaf's ultimate there.
The Ragnarok is down, which is a big playmaking tool for them, especially when he has Ghost up. This wave crash might not be as punishing. Staying safe with the axe. Can try and back out here. It's a little risky to dive in Olaf. And then he can just TP back potentially. But the fallback plan of the invade is going to deny yet another buff.
Yeah, Crow has spotted this out, though, so Deza not going to be able to get it for free. Shadow and Jaybear are still dueling it out in the top lane, so it doesn't look like the Graves is going to have much of an assist here. Both top laners have actually ghosted.
What a wild game.
As well. It doesn't look like there's really going to be much happening. It kind of looks like they're just posturing at one another aggressively. But Shadow pulling the wave, making sure he can get as much as possible. Wenwen and Crow, they don't want to let the blue go for free, but they might have to.
Yeah.
They're not really positioned for it.
And that's the thing. You know, you can try and hover and stop it, but if that doesn't come through...
The undertow! Oh, man. I would be really upset if I was Shadow in that situation. He's been playing the lane quite well up until that point.
It always feels bad when you just get axed out of nowhere. You're back in a bush, and you're like, ugh. And you just die for it.
You can't even press W, right? You can't, like, because he got axed, you know, by the undertow into Olaf's E, and nothing you can do about that. I forget what it's called. Reckless Swing, thank you.
Yeah, Reckless Swing, yeah.
So, it's rough. But, hey, I mean, the kill score is now all tied up. Well, that being said, Alberta Beef still at a 1.1k gold advantage. And honestly, if you're Alberta Beef, you're pretty happy with how things are going, right?
Oh, yeah. Your Zeria's got a lot of farm. They got a 30 CS lead, which is several kills worth of gold here. Not to mention the 3 plates they also have on this champion. Just to give you an idea of how far ahead they are, they have 3.9k gold, which is the 2.7k gold. And they haven't finished their cull yet. They only have 7 charges, which is pretty good, right? 10 minutes, almost 100 farm.
Yeah.
That's what you want out of your AD carry.
That's awesome. I mean, like, I don't believe this is a cannon wave right here, is it? No, it is actually a cannon wave. So if Gotch, I'm not entirely sure. I'm butchering this, I'm sure. But yeah, like about to finish up the cold butt here in the mid lane towards that blue side of Alberta Beef. A little bit of action. And once again, this Belveth getting hard pressured. And like almost every single move it feels like the Wenwin has gone for has either been, just a little bit too greedy, or Deza is there for the interrupt. In top lane though, AFK Shadow and Jaybear dueling it out once again. They're trading, relatively evenly with damage, but this Olaf does get scary with just a little bit of gold.
He does. He also doesn't have teleport now, so they can try and utilize this TP advantage to regain that health. Because Olaf has mana. Shen does not. He's got energy.
Oh, the steal!
Oh my god!
Man, Wenwin comes over the wall. Just yoinks it away.
Thanks for the leash.
Yeah.
It's really nice when that pays off. It's only a Chemtech Drake, but that's extra shielding and healing. So the enemy who has a lot of shielding not having that is more valuable in this specific scenario. Still down a decent amount of gold because of some of those farm differences. But they do have farm leads elsewhere. They've finally picked up a farm lead into the jungle and top side. But that mid and bot deficit is going to be a bit of a doozy because these are hyper carries, you got to remember.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, oh, wait, mid lane Crow in trouble, forced to flash away out to safety, still getting chased down. Wenwin going in, trying to defend the mid laner, is able to. Big time Boyo is here to back up the jungler as well. Chaotic Solar, they all have each other's backs, and they are all able to get out despite those blinking health bars.
Yeah, Chaos Storm happening to the mid lane, transitioning to the top side for yet another brawl. No one's been dying despite everyone's best efforts.
Yeah, Jaybear does have to be careful, though, with Deza and Memories coming up towards that top lane. Looks like he knows how precarious that spot is, though, and walking away.
Yeah. Rift Herald is down. Chaotic Solar was able to get it, which is very good news when you have a Belvath on your team. And hopefully they're going to be able to get some plates here. They don't have any for their own. Except for the one top.
Well, I mean, we were talking about how we kind of wished that the Olaf, the Jaybear, would get a little bit of jungle attention in this top lane. Doesn't look like that's going to happen now, especially considering that Jaybear now has a Hull Breaker completed in the inventory. So, honestly, you know what? That's true to form for being a Darius one-trick. Just leave me alone, let me win my lane.
Yeah.
So, Jaybear completely content to not have any sort of jungle interference from his team. But being said, the rest of Chaotic Solar still at a slight deficit. Memories getting a little bit caught out here. When going in, gets the knock-up on the Lulu. Lulu forced to use Wild Growth to stay alive, and now Tears of Winter and Days are here. Keep the Memories alive. And once again, oh, wait. When was that intentional?
Maybe they tried to place a ward there.
They wanted to ward, yeah.
Yeah, because it's a pretty common ward
big time
spot.
Oh, no!
No!
Smacked by the AoE from the collateral damage. You do not see that very often, and bad goes to worse as Chaotic Solar are wasting their Rift Herald. Oh, dear.
Deza, the shotgun king right now, 2-0 for the 3 kills.
Over the wall. He's going for win-win. Trombone wants it. No, never mind. Deza not going to go for it, but honestly, he has to be feeling great, right? Like,
yeah. Ooh, that axe almost landed there. They're still hovering to the bot side, though. Flight's finally falling down. Early games being favored not by the Team 1 team, but Alberta B.
They're still duking it out here. Jaybear keeps throwing out these undertows, but you really have to be careful against the Shen, right? Because you really can turn that around in just a bit of an instant.
Grasp, pretty strong. Never underestimate the grasp damage, plus max health damage coming out of Shen here as well. And Shadow can get you. Bring it down under.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing here is that AFK Shadow is more than happy to just back whenever he wants to, right? You can still join your teammate with Stand United. You also still have TP available. Young Jay in a little bit of trouble, but it doesn't look like... Oh, wait, they do fully commit to the dive because Wild Growth has come back up. It's just an easy kill. This Zeri is mounting up an advantage. 40 CS ahead, now a kill in the pocket.
Yeah,
now
and that's not
turret
even...
goes down.
I think they might have a level up to right now. We'll have to double check that when the death timer goes away. But that's also a tower here. Something pretty important. Of course, a tower did happen onto the top side, it looks like as well, which is good news for Chaotic Solar. They're still at about a 3K deficit, which is pretty significant for this early into the game, especially since the scaling will favor them.
Chaotic Solar, like they, at the very least, you can see that they're acutely aware of how weak they are at the moment. They're not hard committing, and as I say that, when going in, you can see Stand Unite being channeled, though Rel able to strip off the Shen ultimate shield, but it doesn't look like Chaotic Solar, that they're very well positioned. They have lower health bars, they've used a number of tools. Encore does go out, it catches two, and you see Big Time Boyo in the back, and they kill the Shen in time. AFK Shadow does go down, but the Rel has died as well. When gets the shard, they are able to secure... Oh, wait, no, do they get the Rift Herald?
They
no,
don't.
They weren't able to secure it, but you can see Crow going in. He gets the kill of the Graves, goes forward, doesn't quite get memories, and Gok has been able to kill the Cassante. But now you see the Olaf as well as the Bel'Veth. They try to go in, but Zeri is very well shielded at this point. Tears of Winter has a whole lot of nothing. He just has auto attacks, completely out of mana. But the Zeri is still very, very scary. Have to be careful about those undertows, though. Flash forward, looks for the damage, absolutely not going to be there. And now AFK Shadows respawn, TPing into the middle of the lane. Not really going to get much out of it, though. You don't have Flash, don't have Ghost, but is just there to give his team a little bit of breathing room. And honestly, Trombone, that went a lot better for Chaotic Solar than I thought it would.
Same. As tried as they might, Alberta tried to stand together united, but Chaotic Solar just went all out. Was able to get some nice kills. No one got the Rift Herald Eye. Of course, it did go to Alberta, but they didn't grab it if you look at any of their trinkets. That wasn't there. And just bringing things back, Zeri, Gocha, or however you want to pronounce their name, is up a level.
I'm not really not sure.
Oh my god.
And honestly, geez, J-Bear tanking up a whole lot of turret shots is going to die. Oh, dear.
Got minion blocked there. The 1v1 bro kind of got 2v1 with the tower being there. Illegal.
Yeah. A very unfortunate spot to find yourself taunted under the tower by a Shen. But honestly, I think J-Bear is okay with how things are going in the top lane, right? It's able to take a tower, threatened, but now here in the jungle there's a fight. Whole lot of knockups going on to Memories as Deza, but the Lulu is still alive. The Zeri has arrived. There's the Encore. Whole lot of damage going through.
God.
The Zeri is still up. The stun onto the Bel'Veth, and the Zeri is able to stay alive. As Tears of Winter comes in, gets those double buffs now, and oh dear, can Crow get it? Yes, he's able to finalize it. What cost? As Tears of Winter walks away with a triple kill. And now you have to be worried about this Victor, because now Victor is 5-1-4.
Yeah, you have to be worried about him. A lot of people dying because of this means at least mid towers going down, and top took a lot of damage. They went all out. They were able to get a lot of people picked off, but just the sheer gold advantage was enough to win that fight. If it was more even, Chaotic Solar handily would have won that, but the XP and gold deficit right now, pretty important. 3K gold, that's an entire item by itself.
Yeah. And like I was going to say, there's a lot of CC. Oh, another 1v1 happening here in top lane. Not to be a 1v1 for much longer, though. J-Bear getting engaged on by what it seems to be the entirety of Alberta. Goes CC immune, goes into Ragnarok, cannot even threaten the Zeri.
I mean, honestly, if I'm split pushing top with Hullbreaker and Trinity Force, I kind of want to see 5 people, right? This means that my AP carry, who's been behind in gold, is able to get that wave mid, no problem. They're able to pressure the tower. And then, of course, Crow is going to be able to push this out and potentially get some damage there. They have to respond to something there. So did they really need to send 5 people? Probably not. But they did get the kill.
Yeah. I mean, the only problem, though, is that for Chaos, if you are Chaos, win. A little bit of trouble. Trying to 1v1 the Victor, absolutely not going to work out. Tears of Winter goes dominating. I think that's wishful thinking, going in like that, because even if you do land the knock-up, I don't think you kill the Victor there.
Not when he has Void Staff as a second item.
Yeah.
It's just not quite there. Maybe if they had more stacks or were a little bit more fed, their jungle would have been able to do it. Win-win, kind of going in for a loss there.
Yeah, I mean, you can see that now Alberta Beef have started up the Baron. It's like they're relatively uncontested, but Big Time Boyo, Young Jay, and Jay Bear all here for it. Stand United being channeled onto Tears of Winter. It's getting hit up by the Baron. Whoa, the encore damage, the knockup, the re-engage. Young Jay still stays alive for as long as possible. When comes in, and this is Chaotic Solar's moment. All out is cast. AFK Shadow about to go down as well. And this is absolutely Alberta Beef being routed. Days of the last man standing will get chased down by Jay Bear. There is the ace. They only lose one. Trombone, and they are the ones who are going to get the Baron now.
The number of times I've seen people go for a 20-minute Baron, like, yeah, I have a lead, I can go for a 20-minute Baron, I can win this game, and then lose out handily to that fight. Everyone forgets about Baron Gaze. It reduces your resistances. It's one of Graves' strongest things is grit, and you basically get anti-grit for fighting Baron.
Yeah. But then the other thing in addition to that is that when Big Time Boyo, Young Jay, and Jay Bear, they're all showing up, right? Every single member of Alberta Beef that is in the Baron pit, except for Tears of Winter, leaves, which means the Baron get like 2-3 autos onto the Victor. That's so much damage, especially because there is that, armor and MR shred. And you saw that AFK Shadow had to cast ultimate on Victor. So it was a catastrophic situation, and as you said, like, a lot of teams choose to do early, 20-minute Barons, and sometimes it works out really, really nicely, but it takes you a while to do that. And, like, I don't think that any of the members of Tears of Winter getting engaged on this time. When going for a little bit. We saw this in top lane. Doesn't look too great for the Bel'Veth as Wen's forced to run away. Dragon is spawning. It's a hex map this game. The Bel'Veth is quite low.
They'll be able to get in more. The gold is all tied up, by the way. There was this big deficit, and now it's tied. Unfortunately, for Chaotic Sword, you don't want to be fighting with a Baron buff. You want to be pushing out waves.
Yeah. The other thing is that they're not really able to fully commit for much. Oh, wait. AFK Shadow in a whole ton of trouble. The undertow lands. There's the slow. There's the kill. Jay Bear. And hey, Trombone, Chaotic Solar, they heard what you were saying. They're like, we do have Baron. We should be pushing. We know where the exact members are. Flash forward, encore catches the and Gok is going to go down. Memories as well, forced to use Wild Growth on himself, but doesn't mean anything in the long run. When going for Daza alongside Crow, the rest of the team is going towards the Nexus. When might go down here. Is able to stay alive just a little bit longer. Yes, and Daza looks like it will go down to Crow, and I think that's the game. Tears of Winter trying to keep it alive. Jay Bear, as well as Young Jay, able to get this game, and honestly, it was not looking like that. What, 5 minutes ago?
Yeah.
5 minutes ago, I was like, no. Like, they just have to play this out controlled. Oh, man.
Was this going to be a controlled burn and then nothing? Right. We saw this big Baron play happen. And then for what? They all died. They got aced. They lost so many towers. Then they try to, split things up and go for that dragon. They're like, yeah, we can take dragon. They're like, we got Baron buff. You don't want to respect that? Cool, bro. I'll take your Nexus. It's a good trade for me.
You said it yourself, like 5 minutes ago, which was the 18-minute mark, 18 and a half or so, right? All right, controlled burn, right? We don't have to do anything wild. We don't have to do anything special. And then the 20-minute mark happens. It's like, okay, let's go for the 20-minute Baron. Well, that's like tossing gasoline on your controlled burn. It's no longer a controlled burn.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, with that, Chaotic Solar, they come away with a Game 1 win. They only need to win one more to seal away this series and advance to, I believe, the semifinal. But, yeah, man, that was a wild ending to game number 1. And you have any additional thoughts, Trombone?
I mean, I said it during the cast, but it's really important to say this, guys. Unless you're up like 8K gold and you're very confident about that, don't do a 20-minute Baron. It never turns out well.
Even in
As someone,
professional, like
yeah. Yeah, well, we got to keep in mind, guys. This isn't like your run of mill like solo queue, gold, plat, even diamond games. They're challengers on these teams, grand masters, and they're like, yeah, we can do it, and they didn't.
yeah, I mean, but that's also because like like you think about your opponents, right?
Yeah.
That they should still be fully capable of contesting.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, they did. And not just that, like the stars kind of align, right? The Victor getting absolutely shredded by the Baron, forcing the Shen ultimate onto him. Like it's a very rough set of circumstances that resulted in Alberta Beef losing, but Chaotic Solar really capitalized on it, and that's exactly what they should be doing in circumstances like that. That being said, we have potentially only one more game to play. Hopefully, all of you watching that game will be there for game number 2 as well. We'll be back soon. Hello and welcome back, everyone. We are getting into the draft wall for game number 2. I am True to Bagel. Joined alongside me is Trombone. We are in the draft wall for game number 2 between Alberta Beef and Chaotic Solar. Just as a quick recap, in game number 1, Alberta Beef, they had the advantage. They had everything in their hands pretty much from level 1. They were very controlled, very metered, and that continued from the 3-minute mark all the way up until the 20-minute mark when they made a very questionable decision. Trombone, you can take us in from there.
Up 4,000 gold. Maybe it was even 4.6, 4.8k gold. They tried to go for the Baron, and unfortunately for them, Chaotic Solar was able to collapse and get some mean pickups there. And they got an ace for one person, which meant Chaotic Solar took a whole lot of inhibitors and towers. Then Chaotic Solar was just kept pushing, and Alberta Beef tried to go for the Dragon, and they lost the game. They lost their Nexus for that trade. We'll have to see if they make the same mistake. It looks like they're respecting the Olaf as it's not there, and the one-trick Darius will not get to play that. The 1v1 King. We'll have to see what else they're going to pull up. We saw a lot of top lane picked last time, so we'll have to see if that's going to be the same case.
Yeah, a lot of focus on top lane, but this time around, J4 doesn't get banned, so Alberta Beef, they go instantly in for that pick. Chaotic Solar responds with a Poppy lock, though, so not a bad response to a J4. Poppy can kind of stop up a lot of what the champion brings to the table.
Not to mention, Cataclysm also counts as terrain, so Poppy has more room to shove you into, which is just really good for them.
Yeah. Also doesn't show much, right? Poppy can be flexed between a variety of positions.
Yep.
Primarily jungle top, you see it most often. But Chaos Solar, they opt in for Twitch this time around, so probably no Seraphine bot this time. It'll be interesting to see how they run with Twitch. I don't see Twitch super often, but I've been seeing a little bit more recently.
He's one of those champions that if you can play pretty well, he just eats up comms, because if he's just sitting in a bush, that's like you have to respect that he could be anywhere because he can go into stealth. It looks like Kai'Sa's going to be the response here. It'll make for interesting lanes. They both have pretty good scalability. It varies, from patch to patch. But both of them are technically like 8 marksman assassins. So once the lead gets rolling on one of them, it's going to really change how that lane goes.
Yeah, absolutely. Alberta Beef, they round it out with Bard. Once again, another champion you don't see super duper often right now. Bard, I believe, is on the list to get a pretty big pretty big buff. I don't think that's gone through quite yet. Notably to his passive, a lot of orientation towards movement speed for that. But yeah, I don't believe that's in quite yet. Bard is a very Nautilus.
Yeah,
I love Nautilus.
I love Nautilus too here, just because Twitch can make for a pretty good kill lane, especially if we can keep him in the Twitch slow to stack up those poison stacks and do all that true damage, and when you press your E, all that mixed damage there as well. And I really love the Bard pick as well, because Twitch will roam occasionally to mid lane. People sometimes forget about the AD carry roam, and it really gets people whenever I do it. And Bard can potentially follow through that or even beat Twitch to the punch, giving them that numbers advantage and the mix up. So absolutely love to see that pick here. It looks like Alberta Beef is going to have to really change their team composition here with no Victor and no Shen.
Yeah, that being said, though, Chaotic Solar's also had to make their own changes, right? No Olaf, no Cassante. A lot of focus towards that top line, like the top side. No, although you could argue the mid as well with the Cassante ban. But it's a bit of a stark contrast to game number 1's draft, right? Game number 1's draft, we saw at least Alberta Beef draft all of their solo lanes. Chaotic Solar, they had drafted top jungle and then the Seraphine. But this time around, both teams have kind of saved their solo lanes for phase 2. A lot of focus, as you were saying, towards that top side from both teams. And Solar, right now they have Poppy, Twitch, Nautilus. They need a little bit of magic damage somewhere, but I don't think that they... Do you really want to blind your mid lane? I don't think you do. Watch them do it just to
I mean,
just
going top for a counter pick is pretty nice. It will show if Poppy is going to be in the jungle or where else. But it is, you're kind of stuck doing that no matter how you do it, unless both jungle and both have been doing that. So your flexibility has been eaten up. They will get the counter pick. Toph is the counter matchup lane, so saving it for last certainly makes sense here. Azir should be a pretty interesting pick, especially if we can get into early turrets or do the stream of shuffle. Can be pretty impactful versus champions like Jarvan who want to get on top of you, Kai'Sa who wants to get on top of you, or Jace and Gwen.
Yeah, I mean, as you were saying, right, calling in the stream of shuffle. Also, it creates a little bit more terrain for Poppy to play around, so I do like the Chaotic Solar leaning in towards that, dash denial, but also by almost creating a little bit more chaos on the map with that pseudo terrain that the Sand Soldiers offer. When Azir ults. Chaotic Solar, they round out their comp with Jackson. I think this is pretty darn reasonable to lock Jackson into, right? You have Gwen, Jace, Kai'Sa, even J4 and Bard are somewhat auto attack oriented, so Jax can do really well in this comp. Just gotta make sure you don't get knocked away.
And he's pretty much fighting Jace or Gwen, so Counter Strike is going to help him in both of those matchups as well. We'll have to see if Chaotic Solar is going to go strictly with Azir for their AP damage, because everyone else is not going to be putting out the numbers as much there. Twitch can go for the AP build, but I'm going to guess it's going to be with the auto attack speed build, just trying to stick onto targets. He's going to have his work cut out with him, though, with Gwen, who can kind of stop how that works. And he's going to have to really respect that J4. Interestingly enough, though, both these teams can play front to back, or they can go for a flank.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Alberta Beef, you have once again, thinking about who has to control this game, right? Alberta Beef, you have this Jarvan that can affect every single lane because Jarvan can force a gank all on his own. Chaotic Solar with Poppy, technically, yes, you can do that, but not quite as well as J4 can. And when you think about, what lanes can get enabled early, I feel like Jace and Gwen can very much get enabled early on by a J4, so I really like what Alberta Beef have drafted for themselves this time around.
I mean, I really like both teams all around.
Yeah, that's fair.
Bard can make for some very interesting plays. They're very flashy, and you can get a lot of value out of them. You can stop a lot of value, like with Reft Herald Charge. You can just say no once you get to level 6. The roams are going to create for a very interesting mid. Like we saw, there's still a good potential for a lot of action to happen in the mid lane based on everyone that's going to be involved.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing that I think is worth talking about is that Alberta Beef, they kind of have their backs up against the wall, right? This is just the best of 3. So if they lose here, that's it. That's the series. So they're pressured to play as well as possible Chaotic Solar. They have a little bit less pressure on their shoulders. They have that, one game of buffer. And granted, no matter who loses this series, they're not elims, right?
Yeah.
But it feels a lot nicer to just advance in a straightforward manner, as opposed to, drop down to a lower bracket and have to duke it out there. So obviously both teams, they want to go as far as possible without dropping down. And I think Alberta Beef, I legitimately think that they have it in them to win this series.
Oh, absolutely.
They just made one really, really catastrophic mistake in game 1.
Yeah, everyone makes mistakes. You got to learn from them and really adjust in this game. And I think this team can certainly make the adjustments. Both teams drafted very well. And you got to remember, these is high-level play in the highest division at Style Esports. And on top of that, they're both the number 1, number 2 teams, right? These are grandmasters, challengers playing. They'll be able to adjust and possibly take a game. but your opponent is as well. They can really sink their teeth in. Maybe it was just a warm up for game one.
Yeah, I mean, as you were saying, like, warm up, you gotta shake it off. And with how far these players have gone in their own like journeys as players, I certainly think they're fully capable of doing that. Right? Like, it's just one game. It's not over yet, so you just gotta focus back up and hunker down. That being said, we've talked a lot about how these champions play, and we've also gotten the opportunity to watch how the players operate through game number one. So honestly, I'm really, really interested to see what DayZ does in this game, because we saw a very proactive early game in game number one from them on the Graves. Now you're also on once again a jungler that can be super proactive with Jarvan. So I really think that DayZ can have a huge effect on the map very early on.
Yeah, they certainly can. You can get some counter roams here as well onto DayZ, but you got to keep in account everyone else. Jace is going to be pretty strong early on, who could potentially roam with him, giving them a good numbers advantage. Or if they stick down, or I should say realistically, both teams stick down to this mid lane game plan. Who roams, who gets priority, who's strong when is going to be very important. And Azir isn't the strongest champion early on. He's one of those heavy hitters towards the late. Scalability is the name of the game.
Yeah, you actually just brought up something that we haven't talked about really much. That we did see a lot in game number one. It's just the effect of the supports roaming, right? Like, there was a lot of impact that the supports had coming into mid lane, but obviously not only coming into mid lane, that also means like leaving their laners alone in bot. Game number one, that played out really well for Alberta Beef because Zeri's able to push in with Wanton Abandon, but this time around, I don't think you quite want to do that too much, just because
I think roaming is the correct option.
I'm a bit more concerned of a Nautilus roaming than a Bard roaming sometimes. But
yeah, Nautilus roams are pretty important, and Bard ones are as well. I mean, Rel is super good at roaming. It's one of her strengths to play aggressively. If her lane shoves up, that she can do other things and make impacts there. And it was pretty clear the rest of the team want to do some plays into the mid lane. There's the response, of course, by Alberta Beef.
Yeah.
It's going to be a very interesting game. It's a lot harder for me to just say I think this team's going to win versus last game. I think it'll be very tied up. But the way that the early game was played by Alberta Beef and with the champions in mind, I think they will have the edge in this matchup. But one mistake can end the game. So don't quote me on that.
Yeah, I mean, after game number one, I will say this. I'm not going to call out who I think is going to win. I'll call out who I want to win because I want to keep watching these two teams play out. So I want Alberta to win. Like I said before, I certainly think they have the chops to do it. Made one really bad mistake in game number one, but I certainly think they can play proactively in game number two and pull out the win here and take us to a game number three. But Spectre delay is ticking down. We're going to go to a really quick break, and we'll be right back afterwards. Don't go anywhere.
Go.
All right, hello and welcome back, everyone, to game number 2 against Chaotic Solar versus Alberta Beef. The teams have swapped sides here, but both Trombone and I are anticipating a highly contentious and very close game number 2, especially after that game number 1. If you are just joining us, Alberta Beef, it looked like they had everything going for them, but then they made the choice to do Baron. They got ultra hard punished for it. Chaotic Solar came away with a game number 1 win. But this time around, seeing very different comps from both of them, especially from Chaotic Solar. So we're both Trombone and I are anticipating a very contentious game number 2.
Yeah, especially with how aggressive some of these laners want to be. Nautilus, like you mentioned in the draft here, Jays can be fairly aggressive. J4 can also set up a lot of plays like that. So something to keep in mind.
Yeah. And one thing I do want to talk about, since we have the opportunity to talk about it, and we don't see this champion super often, is the Bard that Memories has drafted. Don't see Bards super often. Oh, wait, top lane. J-Bear. Oh, he's been aggressive since game number 1. But yeah, so going back to the Bard. I don't know about you, Trombone, but I am a support main, and I don't see Bard often. I like playing Bard every now and then, but like he always has a variety of build paths, a variety of things he can do. Also doesn't have a super consistent keystone. So Memories opting for the fleet, I think, is somewhat surprising. Interesting to learn.
I mean, I'm an AD carry main, so like we're dual casting here in the booth. Fleet bulwark for some of these short trades, I think, is pretty important. We got to keep in mind the Halo Blades that Kai'Sa has here. Oh my goodness, that trade in the mid lane. He just kind of wants to get in and out, stay nice and healthy, can help him roam, get those charms. He's just one of those champs where like everything synergizes with him, so like optimizing him is super weird. That's why Omni Stone was like so good on him when it existed.
Yeah. Gosh, that was. God, I feel like that was what 3 years ago now. It's been a while since I've thought about that one.
Yeah. Remember set Omni Stone to the bot lane?
Oh gosh. What was it? There's also the one that stole stuff. When you effectively had a Sheen proc. I always forget the name of it.
Oh,
Kleptomancy. There we go.
Yeah. God, Klepto Ezreal.
Back when the inspiration tree really did feel super creative. That being said, yeah, not too much is happening. I think the most action that we've seen was there in mid lane when Tears and Crow got really aggressive with one another. Ended up trading evenly though, so not too much to be said about it.
The one thing that is not even is the mana scenario. Winter is very low, which means if a freeze happens on Crow, that could force out a teleport here, or if they're shoving out the harass, could be
here in the bot lane. Daza goes forward, does find the knockup onto Big Time Boyo, but Nautilus flashes out to safety. Not too much damage to be had. Exhaust expended by Memories on to Young Jay. So, a very creative move, but with that win, does go up top, tries to get engaged onto AFK Shadow. Flash for the stun onto the Gwen. AFK Shadow trying to walk it out, is ghosted up. Is able to stay alive.
Almost got the shield proc for the kill, but the flash and ghosts are out. Hex Flash, though, is on win, so they can make more plays like this out of the jungle, try and jump scare you.
Yeah, but that being said, AFK Shadow, and I think really the rest of Alberta Beef, kind of happy about that, right? You traded Ghost for 2 flashes. That's great. I also like the move. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
The other thing that they're really happy about is a successful invade coming out of Deza here as well, who I believe got to snag a camp or 2.
Yeah.
And kind of screw up because, look, win is like, oh yeah, I can go to my blue buff and get my Gromp here, and it's just gonna be gone.
Yeah. And that's just reading the map, right? Daza knows, okay, well, I'm towards bot side. I just see Poppy top. I can go in. At the very least, I'll get vision, and, hopefully I'll get a camp or 2, is able to get that Grump. So, yeah, Alberta Beef pretty happy with how things have panned out thus far. J-Bear eating a little bit of damage. But, Alberta Beef, I mean, they were happy with how things were going in the early game before. Oh, Tears of Winter. Maybe getting caught out here, but Crow is eating a lot of damage in return. Jace is quite scary. Up top, though, Oh, first blood goes over to Deza, is able to back it up, and they're in top lane. J-Bear gets the solo kill with that counter strike. Action's not quite over yet, though, as Memories is trying to disrupt Win here. Isn't able to steal away the big Raptor, and now the Bard trying to make sure the Poppy doesn't get out for free. Deza EQ's over the wall, looking for the damage. Win getting lower. Big Time Boyo is there, and oh! The steadfast presence to make sure they all face planted out of the portal. Really well done. Memories now in a whole ton of trouble.
No.
J, Big Time Boyo, they punish, and the panic flash from Memories. That is not what you want to do, but basic human instinct. It happens.
Yeah, with Ignite and then the poison counters that you get there is it's so the range on that too from the execute is so big. And I always, whenever I play Twitch, I'm like, oh god, this thing's big.
Yeah, it tracks you out so far. J-Bear, that's so much damage. AFK Shadow, you regrets taking that one.
Shen.
Crow goes forward, gets the shuffle down. The Jace gets quite low, and Memories is here trying to back up Tears of Winter, but it doesn't look like it's going to quite happen. One more auto would do Crow in, and they can't finalize it. Azir's still alive, able to push the lane out. Deza flash forward, EQ auto gets the Crow. And that's 2 kills apiece for both of these teams, and we were talking about a highly contentious game, and this is a highly contentious game, Trombone.
Yeah, and a lot of action in mid lane. 2 deaths in the mid lane, so that's where 2 of the kills happened. And then, of course, the pickups that we got on the support and top for Chaotic Solar here. The roam ability, like I mentioned here before, the portal means that Memories can go around here, and Deza, the flag and drag, has been pretty important. The mobility can be countered here by Win. Man, that name's hard to say. But if you're not able to get there, or if you're super low and chunked out, it becomes quite difficult. That being said, not as much success happening out of Winter.
He's the dredge line, is able to portal out this time.
Yeah. He really wants to be there out in the jungle, and when you stack like that, he can just double proc you.
Yeah, that means Gok is very scared, rather, but the dive does go through, and the Poppy goes down. They're trying to finalize it. Can they get the kill? Doesn't look like the poison ticking down, but Flash from Big Time Boyo forward is going to secure the kill onto the Kaisa, and ultimately that's a 2-for-1 trade. And in the top lane, J-Bear gets another solo kill, so he's super happy with how things are going up there. But, oof, not great in the bot lane.
Yeah, it looks like Chaotic Solar is going to be sticking into a split push Jax angle here, which, no surprise, they bought Hullbreaker first item on Olaf.
Yeah.
But to the bot side, they didn't win it last game. Wasn't a necessary part of their success. They ended up getting some pretty important summoners, like Exhaust stopped that E from getting an execute there. And then the flashes as well is going to really reduce Bard's mobility. And Cleanse means Dredge line is going to be so much more deadly, especially with Ignite, Ghost, and Flash existing. That being said, they're down gold.
Yeah, the dive just did not work out well at all for Alberta Beef.
No.
Gok was able to stay alive, and the tower doing so much damage as well. And that actually means that I said it didn't work well for Alberta.
And their AD carry was tanking the damage too on the tower for the longest, and that's I've been there, done that. Let me tell you, don't.
It feels bad. It feels awful.
Yeah.
That being said, Chaotic Solar, they didn't get the dive that they wanted, but they have started up the dragon. It is a hex for the first one, so a little bit of attack speed and ability haste in the pockets if they can manage to secure it. That being said, though, looks like Young Jay is just going to walk it out. Was forced to flash, looks like. So Twitch is now missing that. Whoa, aggression's still going forward, though, as Deza does EQ forward. Doesn't look like they're going to hard contest for the drag. Do let it go.
Cataclysm's online.
Into the wall. Crow is there as well, and that should be a dead Jason just a moment. Yes, it is. Big Time Boyo a little bit low. The Kaisa's walking forward, and there's the re-engage from Deza. There's the Cataclysm, but the J4 is getting low as well. Young Jay able to get the kill. Able to get another with the help of Crow. And oh dear, this is not what Alberta want. They lose one more. And that's a double kill. The Azir, who started at 0-2 and 0, is now 2-2 and 2. Cross map ace with J-Bear in the top lane. In addition to that, Chaotic Solar. This is not the game that they had early on in game number 1. They are fully in control for game number 2.
Yeah, they were able to get some nice pickups there. The Cataclysm didn't come in early enough with how the team was being split up, just kind of like a conga line there, so they couldn't necessarily follow up if they did. Even with the Flash being down, just getting those stacks led to that massive ace for the cross map. 3-0, J-Bear. What an impressive start. A bit of a mix-up from last time. And gotta mention it, Blade of the Rune King's on. Did 0 damage last game. Didn't need to get the triple proc to kill anyone. Yeah, and it's not going to get any better.
And also, speaking of not going to get any better, as Crow eats Shock Blast. But top lane is not going to improve for Alberta. No. At this point, J-Bear has free reign to do whatever the hell they please, right?
It doesn't feel good when you're like, you haven't completed your first item yet, and you're like, yeah, I kind of need to buy a Seeker's Arm Guard to like maybe do okay. Especially when you're going, you really want your Mythic.
It's not even super effective because Jax still deals a lot of magic damage.
And it's Divine Sunderer.
Yeah, like
it's a bait in my opinion to build that super early on and go for Azonias. You need to be able to match tit for tat if you're.
Young Jay was in stealth doing a whole lot of damage to the Kai'Sa. Will be able to take out with the poison, I think, but probably going to die. And with the lock of the Iron Solari, Gok stays alive, and that feels pretty good for Alberta.
The exhaust stopping the E damage really changed that fight up there. And then, of course, the jungle roam also really secured that out. And, of course, wave crashing, CS deficit because of that, and some damage on the turret, getting that nice plate here. Going back to our conversation into the top side, though, Seeker's Arm Guard, if you don't have the damage to back up your sustainability, it's just kind of delaying the inevitable and delays your build. They're also down 2 levels. How did I not notice that?
Well, I mean, now it's 1. It's close to 2 though with that sort of deficit. And, yeah, it's very difficult for AFK Shadow to exist in this space now. Still not finished. Thing.
There's a 2-kill advantage favoring Chaotic Solar, but the gold is only 300.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, like, if you take a quick look at the gold, you can probably see a lot of the gold advantage is in those solo lanes for the side of Chaotic Solar. When you take a look at all the other roles, they are at disadvantages across the
Jungle's at a disadvantage for Chaotic Solar. Bots basically even at 200 gold deficit, but a 700 gold lead on the support is the really unexpected one. But 4 assists, 2 kills. Yeah. Like roaming Bard, it does that. It really helps that out.
Oh man, this is just bullying.
Okay,
well, J-Bear, he's gonna get the tower.
Nope.
Right?
Not with that ultimate.
Oh, wait, no, his DC does come through. Unable to get it. You are correct.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Don't cyberbully, folks. You'll get ganked by a Bard if that happens.
Yeah, I saw a variety of pings go through after J-Bear died, presumably from him. Kind of upset about dying there, but...
Rift Herald is online for Chaotic Solar, though, too. There's potential for first tower to still yet again happen.
Coming through here. TP being channeled, looks like, from AFK Shadow. Big time Boyo still able to stay alive. Flashes out, looks like the safety, but isn't going to last much longer. AFK Shadow does use the ghost, so does Young Jay. But mid lane turret also goes down.
Yeah,
so yeah, I mean, Chaotic Solar is still relatively heavy, but that gold lead is still very, very close.
Yeah, especially for getting first tower here as well. Ooh, having to flash. That was a good flash. That wasn't necessarily the easiest
that created a ton of space.
Yeah, and you gotta keep in mind, it created space when there was a Bard tunnel on there as well. Memories wasn't able to get on top of them.
Yeah, and now looks like Alberta, they might be trying to answer back to that mid lane tier 1. They aren't quite going to get it yet. But the other problem is J-Bear is an unstoppable juggernaut in this top lane, right? He's going to demand presence, going to demand attention. And there's so much pressure generated from this Jax alone. But Deza goes in. Wenwen already incredibly low. They are able to secure the Mountain Drake, though.
The
Crow
second
in
steal.
a bad spot is going to portal out, but doesn't look like Crow can make it out. Young Jay might be the sacrificial. Rat is going to get stunned up by the Tempered Fate and does end up going down. In Alberta Beef, they actually come away with the gold advantage from all those kills. They just lose out on the Dragon, and now the stacking is very much in favor of Chaotic Shadow.
Yep, a tower and a Dragon is going to create a lot of map pressure, but gold is also very important. Money talks here, and because of that gold that they have accrued in those kills in that Dragon pit, they're able to secure this bot lane as well.
Crow looks like in a very precarious spot, forced to flash away to safety. Big time Boyo dredge lines out as well. And yeah, it kind of feels like right now that for Chaotic Solar, the two scariest players are Jaybear and Young Jay, right?
Yeah, Crow Jaybear is going to be additionally scary here because no teleports are on the opposing side, so someone has to match now. They can't just use that as a cheat.
Yeah, absolutely. And I gotta say, Wenwen looking a bit squishy at the moment. It really has been getting swallowed up. And I do have to hand it off to AFK Shadow, finding a lot of kills, finding an opportunity to actually build a bounty for themselves after that catastrophic early game. Still 50 CS down, though, so one should still be careful.
Oh, yeah, they're definitely going to have to be careful. They're still able to create some, resemblance of pressure on the map despite being down 50 gold, which is very impressive.
Interesting call from AFK Shadow to just throw down the needlework, although I don't think that's a very punishing cooldown. And yeah, you can already see it's 96 seconds this early on. It's not even rank 2 at 96. It's fairly short in the grand scheme of things, but
split pushing the bot pressure
side. Continues for the side. Chaotic Solar, they're able to take every single tier 1 turret thus far. But I think they still have to be careful because like some of their moves here, they're trading a little bit too much. As you said, money does talk, and honestly, Deza is scary in their own right. Tears of Winter and Gok, they should scale well too, even if like the Jarvan, does have that 30-minute Cinderella timer, so to speak. Wait,
the dredge line! Oh, it was so cheeky, but the wall gets in the way.
AFK Shadow. Oh! Stunned out after getting spooked by the Nautilus. That should be the shutdown straight into Jaybear's hands. Wenwen, though, still a very squishy Poppy. You see this, and you only have Divine Sunder and Ionian boots. You are not tanky at all as Poppy in this sort of situation.
No.
It's like Solar positioning pretty hard for Rift Herald, though. Young Jay is stealthed up. Tears of Winter is getting shredded down. Memories flashes out to safety. Deza gets out as well. And oh dear, Jaybear went forward with the counter-strike, ends up going down. Deza is all over the place right now, EQing constantly. Is able to get the kills.
Oh, flank TP.
Unfortunately, Young Jay goes back into stealth and is able to get the kills now.
Ooh.
Oh man, AFK Shadow respawn TP'd into the situation that Gwen can clean up so hard and can't finalize a single kill.
That's another ace.
Dear.
That's another ace. Well played, Chaotic Solar here. Oh my goodness. They were able to get a good flank here. Get a lot of value out of their AD carry, the piercing shots that Twitch's ultimate does. Of course, Tempered Fate really did stop that and ultimately ended up getting Jaybear killed. They had just went too deep, didn't have the damage to follow up because of how that ended up playing out. That being said, no Rift Herald yet. It's 30 seconds until it's going to despawn. Well, realistically 15. Yeah, so this Dragon's going to be the next big fight, and a lot of people have bought items. Rune's Hurricane's going to get those stacks up.
Yeah, and now both junglers are starting to itemize to be tankier, and you can see Wenwen getting a little bit of armor in the inventory. Oh, still gets caught out by the Cataclysm, forced to flash away. Big time Boyle walking out too. Honestly, I think if you are this side of Alberta Beef, like, yes, Jaybear is a problem, but the other thing is, Young Jay, free hitting, absolutely terrifying. Memories get stunned up by the counter-strike. The Bard is not dead yet. Big Time Boyo, very, very low, is able to stay alive, but Tears of Winter is the first one to go down. Now Big Time Boyo is dead. J-Bar still going forward with that Counter-Strike, gets the stun off and is able to get a second kill. Gok does end up dying to that stealth up Twitch, double kill for the Rat. And now Deza, only member on the team left alive, misses the EQ, can't get out. And now maybe you can get out. Oh, unfortunate.
Oh, and that's another ace.
That's another ace, and almost a clean ace at that, but not quite.
Will they be able to take Baron because of an ace? This is a little less risky, even though they don't have that big gold advantage like I spoke last time. J-Bear's getting super low. I don't think they can do it. Oh my goodness, folks.
Young J. Oh my goodness. One more hit and the Twitch dies too. And
20-minute Baron. We said don't do it.
I mean, at the very least, for Chaotic Soul, they don't get hard punished for going for a Baron they can't do, because the entirety of Alberta Beef got aced. But that being said, they are able to redeploy. They are able to contest for this dragon. When Win's still there, doesn't look like they can secure, but they do in the end. Tears of Winter dies as well. Crow gets the scoop in, gets the shuffle down, and that's a double kill for the Azir. Deza is here, eats the dredge line, but Young J stealthed up. Look at the Rat. Is going for, looks like going to be Deza. The J4 does end up dying. Crow going godlike after a 0-2 start, 7-2 and 6. Looking scary on Azir, and now there is the call for Baron. And even if they don't have the Poppy, they certainly do have the members for it, but it looks like it's only Boyo and Young J. J-Bear might be walking now, but looks like he's going to go for mid. I don't think Nautilus can fully tank this.
No, they might just be going for ward clears to make sure.
Okay, Jax is coming. Now they're going.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, 3 people, they can definitely do it.
Yeah.
It's going to be a little bit less, more risky for them, especially with Crow's TP being down. But it is creating a lot of pressure because they have to answer him. Baron's free. They're just only going to get on 4 people, most likely, unless he flashes out.
Oh, no. Very unfortunate. Like, Crow, unfortunately, couldn't make it over the wall. Does end up giving that shutdown over.
1,000 gold.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe they'll be able to finish that death cap, though?
Maybe. Let me check the gold really quick.
It's only 700. It's not quite there. It's not quite there.
Kind of needs a little bit of help from the teammates. Needs to take like 6 turrets or something at that point.
Hey, a Nexus gets you 50 gold. Maybe that's enough.
Yeah, all the turrets plus Nexus, that actually could be. That actually should be enough. But might not happen that way around. Ooh, AFK Shadow getting hit up, getting popped up in the air by that dredge line. Does end up going down. Young J now fully dominating on this Twitch. Oh, go be careful. The Twitch is on the hunt, is able to just shred him down, even through the shield. Just absolutely executes him, and now Memories flashed out to safety. The J4 swaps places, but I don't think Deza can really take this. A little bit more damage, and that's a kill. Actually, might still tick down to the poison here. One more tick. Oh, okay. Oh. That's cheeky. It is able to stay alive.
Is able just barely to stay alive right there. The fancy footwork there to just juke the Tempered Fate, get that last kill. Super important, but 8k gold lead favoring Chaotic Solar. We know they know how to end a game here, especially with 28 kills right now.
Yeah, I mean, there's just nothing that Alberta Beef can play through.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, that missed the knockup. J-Bear is more than happy to just Counter-Strike, go back in. Jax is still absolutely terrifying. TP actually is channeled from Tears of Winter. They are committing everything to try and kill the Jax. It is not enough. 1 kill already. Now Gok in the eyes gets the kill onto the Kaisa. Still alive, still jumping around. Is gonna die eventually, but at that point, the entirety of Chaotic Solar pops up and says, all right, you threw everything in the kitchen sink at Jax, and now we're here to kill you. It completely take out the rest of the team. Next timer is 10 seconds on AFK Shadow. Even if that goes through, AFK Shadow cannot stop this march. They cannot stop the 2-0 from coming through. Chaotic Solar, welcome to the semi-final in the Shurima division. Very well done.
Yeah, and it wasn't just J-Bear pushing things out there. Of course, the team following up the play was also pretty good. The double found kill. Oh, no, it was only one. It was only one found kill.
It was close. Like half a second more and that guy dies. It's over. But, man, that is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, it looked very back and forth in that early game for a little bit there. But the one thing that was very consistent in that early game, J-Bear just absolutely just full sending it hard, stomping the Gwen, knowing that you're at an advantage, and just hammering that advantage over and over and over again until you win.
Yeah, I mean, J-Bear was so crucial for that game to operate the way it did. I mean, the whole team played pretty well that game. They were able to get just so much value, get a lot of roams off. Obviously, Nautilus was able to just CC people, keep people safe. So the big time Boyo, pretty important for that set, not going to lie. And of course, the flanks, 28k damage coming out of their AD carry. Who did the most in the game? The next highest was 20 by Crow, and then 16 by his lane opponent here.
Yeah, I mean, Trombone, I think you and I did talk a lot about J-Bear doing really, really well, but as you were saying, right, Young Jay with the flanks on the Twitch was absolutely devastating, able to free hit in a lot of the fights for quite a while, and it made all the difference in those team fights. And ultimately, I think with the Jax being so strong, with the Twitch able to get so much gold in the pocket, I just don't think Alberta had a proper response for that. Like, they had the J4 was strong, right? But eventually J4 can't really save that entire situation for your team.
J4 needs a follow-up. He can't do all the damage because he's building like Gourd Ranker to stay healthy. So unless his AD carry or his mid laner, someone who does a lot of damage, or I guess, you know, their top laner in this scenario, can really follow up and just chew through him, it's kind of a shrugs, guess I'll die.
Yeah, pretty much.
So it's not like Ghost or Tears of Winter played bad here or AFK Shadow. It's just they kind of got outmatched this game. J-Bear was able to solo bowl so many kills. And despite some of those early dives that happened on the bot side that Ghost and his team was able to pick up, it just wasn't quite enough. And the pressure that just kept inking forward and forward, the steals that happened game 1 and game 2 also really helped Chaotic Solar. They just couldn't keep their gold advantage and push it out enough to get the game. And, of course, the series.
Yeah, I mean, so as you said, you know, obviously nothing that we've said, you know, is to disparage how Alberta Beef played. For the plays that they made right, it looked very, very solid. They had a lot of control in that jungle very early on for both games. And obviously they're not knocked out, right? They're just knocked down to the lower bracket. They can still make their way through. And considering how those games were played out, I could fully expect and see this matchup here being our finals matchup, you know, a couple weeks down the road.
A grudge match. Everyone loves to see that in finals. It's super juicy. I really want to watch it. I hope they, you know, are able to pull it up. It's every time they made a decision in a play, you knew it was a conscious and deliberate one, and they learned from the plays too. Like if it worked, they kept doing it, and if it didn't work out, you never saw them do it again. Which was just, that's what you want to do. That's how you need to play League of Legends.
Yeah, that is League played at, you know, the exact, like, this is why you watch comp, and this is why you play comp. That's how you want things to be played. That's how you want to watch and experience the game. So hopefully, you know, despite the loss, Alberta, they can carry forward and carry on, because I do want to see them again sometime, and I want to see this be our finals matchup, honestly, based on what I've seen. So hopefully it will play out for them that way. But in order to see that, you know, we'll have to tune in for all the other games that we have headed forward. So, Trombone, you have any final remarks?
I'm going to say it one more time for everyone. Don't do Baron at 20 minutes.
You know what?
Just don't do it.
Wise words, truly.
Both teams did it. So it's not a knock on either one. Both of them did it, and it was bad for both of them.
All right. Well, yeah, everyone, you heard it. Trombone says, save yourselves. Do not go for the sweet siren that is the 20-minute Baron. But that will be it for us. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for watching this fantastic series here on Style Esports. We will have more games in the coming weeks. We hope to see you there. Everyone, have a great evening, great night, wherever you are, and have a great long weekend.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Bye.